So how do you get this? This is not going to be for a lot of people, but when I started out fixing my basement, I wanted to have a stone fireplace. And I did some searching and looking and investigating, and I found a product called Stone Master. You get this at Menards. I got it at my local Menards store. It's called River Stone Decorative Stone. Now, they have different stones that you can get. My particular color is gray. I wanted it to be more like you'd get if you were to get it out of a... It does have some, they call it gray, but it does have some red tints, some yellow tints. But this is what the stuff looks like when you open the box. You're going to get a stone, and the back side is flat. And all these things, you get big ones, you get, as you can see, all these are full size 12 by 12s, all different shapes and sizes, everything. Now, as you can see, I got 3 boxes left over. Now, I ordered enough. My fireplace was basically 48 square feet, 6 and 8 approximately. So I figured how many square, the box tells you how many squares are in the box. And I figured that I wanted to have some extra because you never know. Well, I'm glad I did, because as you get to the top of the fireplace, you need the extra boxes to get the pieces that you need to make it fit. So my particular way of doing it is I wanted at least when I put them together, I wanted at least a finger width between them. Now, when you have places like this, but that was my starting point, as I started out with a finger in between them. So because I wanted a middle finger basically in between them, as I went to the hardware store, unfortunately, I don't have any of them left. I guess I threw them all. Anyway, you go to the hardware store and get yourself some 1/2-inch rubber hose. You know, it probably had an 1/8 inch, 16th inch edge, thickness wall, as you'd call it. So you get that hose and you cut it down to about 1-inch pieces. So you cut a lot of them, because the whole point in how you put this stuff up, or how I put this stuff up, is your first couple layers are your crucial layers, because that's what supports the rest of it as it goes up. So I bought a DeWalt tube gun, because from what I read on the internet, that was the easiest way to apply the adhesive. They do make a manual one, and I did get it, and I decided to go with a DeWalt so I could have... They said the people that had used the manual ones said that sometimes the tube, your hand can get tired. And behind this wall is plywood, 1/2-inch sheet of plywood, matches the 1/2-inch drywall, screwed into 2x4s in the back. So what I did is I start out at the bottom here. Now, the main thing is that you take this whole wall, including the fireplace, and you draw it out. In my case, I had the flooring in already. I would suggest doing this without flooring in already, but I had cardboard laid out here, and I drew all this stuff out on a cardboard. So you could literally look down at the cardboard, and then that's how it would go up, just from here to there. So you start out laying all this stuff out on the cardboard. Now, in my particular deal, I wanted a flush to the fireplace, and I wanted it to stick over just a hair to the drywall. So that was what I decided to do. So you lay all the stones out and you kind of get them all scattered out and stuff. Now, the real easy part of this is that I chose to use this stuff is I went online and found this stuff. It's called sticky stone. And let me tell you something, this stuff is amazing. So basically what you do is you have your stone, and you take your first stone and you lay it where the flat's up, and you take your glue thing. Now let's just say that this is flat side out, and you take your sticky stone and you start applying it, and you apply it. And I just went like this. Now they suggest about 3 inches apart, but I just went up, down, and you take it and you stick it up here and you hold it for just a little bit. And let me tell you something, this stuff will stick pretty quick. Now the problem is that this stuff is fairly heavy. It's not ridiculously heavy, but it's fairly heavy. So when you get up here, it has a tendency to want to maybe slide. So you hold that there for a minute and you put the other ones down. So there's your first coat, right? So you have your plywood inside here. So then you take your hose that I told you to cut and you lay it in here. Now remember, none of the cement mortar is in here. So you lay the hose in here and you lay the hose in here. You lay the hose where your other pieces are going to come in contact with. So the next piece would be, of course, you'd lay this one down here, put a hose in between here, and that gives you your nice spacing. Doesn't matter what this turns out to be. That's how you set your stone later. So you put this stone in next, and you put your hose and you put your sticky stone and you stick it, and then just hold it for 5-10 seconds, and you let go, and the hose in between here keeps this from sliding. So you work your way up and you just keep your pattern going. Like I said, remember, you have that built on the floor and you just bring the floor up to the wall. So the little hoses worked great. And yes, you have places that you're going to sit stuff in. So this was a little thinner, but that's the whole point, guys. You don't want it to be, perfect. You want it to have that bigger and smaller, but for the most part, that's what I used between them to get them going. Likewise here, you start here, you glue it, you stick it up here, and you hold on to it for a little bit, and you basically get this and this and this and this in. You make sure those are at least 15 minutes tacky and stuck, and they won't slide then, and then you can start putting in the rest of your stone. Like I said, sticky stone for this, for 48 square feet, it took 3 tubes of this. These tubes are, this is probably 2/3 left. So what are they, 18 inches long maybe? So it took me 2 plus a little of this. So for me, I would say for 48 square feet, I used 3 tubes. And you lay about a 1/2 inch bead down on them. So you just continue to lay it out on the floor, and then you bring it up to the ceiling. Now I'm not gonna lie, as when you get up here to the ceiling, some of these are a little bigger than the 1/2 inch because I wanted it to go up to the ceiling. But like I said, back in the days, the whole point of getting this, I wanted a old-fashioned look, like somebody laid it back in the day. So now comes what I call like the harder part, and that's getting in your mortar. So, and you find a cement mortar mix, and I wish I could tell you the kind that I bought. But basically, it looks like that. Cement. Dig a little bit of it out. What I did is I filled a glass about like this, half full, and put it in like a little bucket, whatever you'd have it, and I started mixing it up, and you just put a little bit of water, and a little bit of water goes a long ways with this stuff. So you mix it up, and you get it to the consistency of, I would say consistency of peanut butter, but not quite that thick. You want it to be able to kind of stick. It has to be able to stick and spread. So how I used, what I used to spread it was I ended up buying you can get these at your store, at your hardware stores. You buy yourself a tuck pointer. Now this is I think they called this, is this a 3/8 inch thick? But it was longer. I can't do this. It was about a foot long. I cut it down to 3 inches because you want to be able to get it in. And I found the longer tuck pointer was harder to work when I first started. So I learned as I went. So when I got up to a point like this, I would take basically I had automotive stores sell them to spread fiberglass on a car. You know, when you're doing body putty, it's like a little rubber spatula type thing. And that works perfect. You dip that in, you put it up against the wall, flat like this, and then you just take this and peel it up to the wall, and then you go with your thing and you tuck point it in and smooth it out. And then after I was said and done, I went through with my finger and I'd go like this, spread it all around, kind of, and that gives it that rougher look. You don't want it, well, at least I didn't want mine to be totally smooth. I wanted it to have, like I said, I'm looking for aged. I'm looking for a certain look, and this gave me my look. So I've had this up here. This has been up now for, I'd say a couple months now. And I made these, or my holders for my shelf. I made these out of a tree that I cut down. And this is actually a tree that I cut down and I planed it, and we're leaving the bark on it. And when the bark starts to dry and fall off, whenever that happens, we will have to glue it on and probably take some nails and stick that on. I was going to put bark on the edges. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that. I still might. It doesn't look bad like that. So now this is 4-inch screws. Drove through here, and before I put all this together and put the plywood on here, I had built a frame around here. So there is a big old structure behind here that these are held on by. So basically that's all there is to putting this stuff up. That sticky stone is amazing. It sticks very hard, very sticky, very good. You don't want to get it on your hands. It's hard to get off. Just be careful when you apply it, and it works fantastic. But there's no chicken wire behind it. There's no nothing. They recommend that it can be stuck on concrete. It can be stuck on drywall. It can be stuck on plywood. I used a coarse plywood, so the plywood gave, the coarseness of the plywood gave the backing, the sticky stones, something to stick to. But I don't know. It worked amazing. So there you go, guys. That's kind of a that took me, I worked on it for 3 Sundays, and during the week, when I was putting the grout around it, and yeah, it turned out really good. That's exactly what I wanted it to look like. So yeah, sticky stone, river stone, or whatever it is you put up, make sure it has a flat surface, and sticky stone is amazing. Let me tell you. So that's how I did my fireplace. So there you go. For all those interested, Thanks for watching. Bye.